Hello, it's the Audiophile Journeyman. I'm going to do a video today, specifically trying to focus on the AudioNote CD player, the CD 5.1X. You see it there, silver faced with the remote next to it. That's the remote control for it. Um, so I purchased this player um, to offset the desire to have a very strong digital player and DAC. I've been looking for years, for something like 3 or 4 years now. External DAC, most likely, maybe just a transport mechanism. There, PS Audio, a couple other manufacturers have them for just a transport. And then I was going to connect that to a very strong external DAC. I listened to the Chord offerings, the TT2, and then that coupled with the M scaler, both of those were very impressive and noticeable difference in sound improvement as you connected both up over a standard just output off of any CD player or SACD player. Looked at that. Looked at the Mola Mola Tambeki. Impressive, very very good sounding. The issue I was running into was the prices just kept increasing for the external DAC, and then also you needed the transport mechanism, and I'd wanted an SACD capability, just figuring that would always sound better and always be better. And then once I discovered AudioNote, I really listened to their argument about one box, simple path, simple circuits. Don't break it out, don't add cables because you add noise and timing and jitter and all those typical things, and how to combat that and what you need in line. Now, AudioNote does have a separate external DACs, and they're on their website. I did not hear any. I think that's, I'd say, the downfall, but when you go to an AudioNote dealer, you pretty much have the setup that they have in place. So they're not going to have 3 or 4 DACs. They're not going to have 3 or 4 of anything, because it takes a lot of resources and commitment money-wise to get that in place. So they're pretty much selling to their clientele what they think will move next or have been asked to get. And that's kind of what I ran into. And luckily it was the 5.1. I originally looked into the 3.1 for budget reasons. And then I got this in a bundled package, so to speak. So it worked out for me. And how I purchased it was went and listened. They had no comparable. They couldn't do an A/B off of anything else. So I went and listened to music that I knew, which is kind of a fallacy, so to speak, because you don't know it that well. You'd have to really listen to it side by side. But the musicality was so definite and so present that certain memories came to light of over the years of really hearing outstanding systems and done right and set up correctly. That's the presence that was there. It was done right, set up correctly. It sounded good. Nothing was fatiguing. Even music I didn't know intrigued me and I enjoyed. So an album you've never heard before, it's a good album, but all of a sudden that becomes, wow, this is great. Let me hear more. And that's kind of what I'm looking for and was looking for. So with that said, I looked into this player, CD player. It's Redbook only. It's very simple in the sense that it's a simple circuit. All you have is RCA on the back or balanced. There's pictures online. I'll put some in the description. I'm going to start doing that more, putting things in the description, references. Since we're just talking about one item here, it's easier to do. And it's a very simple setup. And the power switch is next to the transformer on the back. The same thing is true with the amplifier. And that's to cut down connections and circuits and have noise and energy flowing through the chassis and all these kind of concepts. And it seems to work. It's a pain in the neck to turn on and off, but for the sound quality you get out of it, it's a small price to pay. So for this example, what I did was, you see some CDs there from left to right. It's Nirvana Bleach, Animals, Pink Floyd. That's the latest remaster from Analog Productions. Rage Against the Machine, Renegades, and Jimi Hendrix, Kiss the Sky. And I was listening to the Animals SACD that you see, and it sounded great. What can you say? It sounds great. I finally found out what people mean by the veil is lifted off your speakers, and there's no curtain involved. Through this CD player, the music sounds cleaner. It just, the way it's presented, there is no covering to it. It's as if somebody cleaned it perfectly, cleaned the air between you and the source. You know, it's ridiculous to say, but I finally figured out what people mean by that. So what I wanted to do was say, okay, Animals is great. They just remastered it. It wasn't recorded, I guess, perfectly originally, but it sounds good and it's clean. I've listened to it many times, so I know it sounds like one place or another. So I said to myself, well, what's stuff that, typically you might throw on that doesn't always sound great, that is kind of edgy and you might get fatigued or might be distorted. And so that's where the Jimi Hendrix came in. I was like, I'm a Hendrix fan. I think he's a very good guitarist and musician. But his stuff can be distorted sounding at times or not. It seems like it wasn't recorded well or something. That went away. So the Kiss the Sky album came out, I think, in the 80s. And, I've had it since then. It sounded perfect. Every cut on the album was clean. Where things are typically distorted or edgy, especially in the high end, that was not present at all through the 5.1. I can't say enough about it. The thing is, you want to put the next CD in. You want to, okay, that sounded great. Hey, maybe you were going to stop listening, but no, let me just throw this in and listen to this now. And it's that kind of scenario where music is cleaner sounding. It's not fatiguing at all. It's intriguing. And so I said, well, Bleach, early album by Nirvana, that is just the Red Book copy. You see there's got a used sticker on it, price sticker. So I bought that at a used bin. Again, sounds good. It might be a little edgy at times because of how it's recorded and what they probably wanted to do with it, but it's not distorted. It's not like, oh my God, turn it down kind of thing. And through this, I've discovered how loud this can actually play, the system. It can get to the point where you couldn't hold a conversation over it. It really can present the music very well. You do have to turn it up virtually all the way. You might have a click or two left on the volume knobs, but that's it. But then you just turn it down a couple clicks, and it's to the point where you could just maybe shout over it, so to speak. You really couldn't hold a normal conversation. So the music is so clean from source to speaker. It really does sound good. Now, and I also try to look into, well, what is it? Is it a R2R configuration? Is it chip design? It is 100% audio note design. They do the whole conversion and the analog output stage and everything else is their design. They designed it, optimized it. They took the transport mechanism, I think, from the 3.1. They took the output stages from the 4.1. They put them together. They cleaned up the circuit. And they improve the circuit at the same time. So you're really getting the best of both worlds from the younger two, or smaller two, whatever you want to say. And it just really has a lot of benefit. I'd say you got to check out the concept of one box. And it'd be good if I ever could compare it to another audio note setup that was separate, maybe. Because they're supposedly doing outstanding thing with the separate DACs. Or even like the Mola Mola. And somehow get the transport to play through the Mola Mola. That's kind of the tough, you're not going to be able to do it. There's no, because they don't want to disrupt the circuits, they don't have extra connections in there. There's no extra switches, no extra connections on the back. It's just not done. For that reason, to cut down the noise, to cut down distortion, cut down every kind of thing you normally kind of pick up and ruin the signal with. So I then also played back, you see a Sony player there underneath the Rage Against the Machine CD. I had picked that up. My other Sony, I had a Sony SACD that just the laser and the transport failed. It wouldn't track anymore. Nobody would fix it. It said no parts. So I ended up discarding it, unfortunately. So I looked around probably a year ago and found that Sony I used on Amazon. It's a UHPH1. I'll put a link in the description. It plays everything you can imagine. I bought it because it plays SACDs and it plays CDs. So I kind of compared it to the 5.1, and sure enough, it had that vague or whatever cloaked result from the speaker where it seemed like something was in the way. It was more distorted, certainly, than Jimi Hendrix than the 5.1, but it should be. I mean, the 5.1 is a fully optimized piece of equipment to play back CDs at the highest level, I guess, that can be done at this time. So if it didn't do that, would really be kind of a frustrating situation. But I can say it was clearly better and more listenable. And so people would say the low diminishing return on cost. Yeah, I agree. One, you can't compare the two. I just said I had this CD, this own one I had that I can play back in, and it does a fine job. I needed it to fill the gap of time. It played everything I put in it. I didn't hate it by any sense. It worked well. I've obviously kept it. I'll probably keep it. Maybe use it in another system or another room. It'll also play video files back, but that doesn't matter to me. So, just going to say that I guess I didn't A/B, and it'd be nice if the situation came up with audio note you could, because I think that's a benefit. Hands down, this is superior CD to anything I've ever heard. So I did the Jimi Hendrix and the Animals, but not this release of this CD, because I just got that a few months ago, through different external CDs. And from what I remember, things were a little distorted, were edgy, weren't as clear, even with stuff like the core electronic stuff. And I think that source was the Dave. I think we played through the Dave, then added externals. And by the time we were done with the M scaler, I don't even want to say, I don't think we did the TT through the Dave. The Dave to the M scaler and the Dave alone, and the M scaler added to the Dave. It was phenomenal how that worked out. And then again, if that's your budget range, certainly go for that. I mean, you got to set your budget and see what falls in, but take a look at the Audio Note one chassis setups, like the 5.1, 4.1. I think they have a 0 now. I'm not sure the prices. That's another thing. You won't find the prices online. You have to contact the sales rep in your area, and they'll correspond with you. What do you like? And, what kind of music, and what are you thinking of? And it's a very pleasant thing. They're not there to challenge you or insult you in any way. It's a sales agreement, and they're going to demo the stuff to the best of their ability for what you say you want and what you can afford, and they'll work with you to get there. So I'd say reach out to any of them through the Audio Note website and just see what they say and what they have. It might be a good experience, and maybe discover. It's kind of how I discovered this setup. I just did that. So in the future, the next step will be, I want to do a sound demo. I want to record it. People ask for that. And I was thinking, God, if I did Animals, I'm sure it'd be taken down immediately. But I have that Animals SACD, and I have an Animals LP, which is one of the latest remasters too. I could do an A/B with the turntable you see there and the CD player, and just have you guys rate it if you want to do. I mean, I don't care. Kind of put comments out like, hey, yeah, I'll do an A/B. Just don't tell me which one's which, and I'll tell you which one I like better. And then I can tell you later, which one was which. I just find that intriguing. If people think they can hear that through YouTube, great. I never really got into that stuff, but if people want to do it, I'm up to doing anything within reason. The only issue is it might be taken down. So any suggestions on music? I have a lot of LPs and CDs. I might not have what you asked for, and I need it in both formats. Because to me, that's, if the CD player will sound very similar to the LP, you're getting that range of LP vinyl playback. Now that LP and cartridge is not the best in the world, so that'd be somebody's argument. If the CD player sounds better, well, yeah, okay, give me a equally priced, I guess, turntable and cartridge, and we'll see what happens. This is a very good, it's the DS Audio cartridge, and it's a Rika P6. So it's a good setup for that comparison. And I'd be very interested in people's opinion on what I should do and how I should set it up, so it's a sensible thing. But so then again, so this is all about the 5.1. It really just blows you away as far as clarity, playback, musicality. Has no digital artifacts in anything that I could tell. The night I was doing the listening, I figured I'd play Animals, and then I pulled out Bleach. And I said, oh, well, it just kept going. Next thing I know, it's, midnight or something. And it wasn't a strenuous thing to do at all. So it's a kind of dangerous thing. We might, if you did a lot of it, you'd end up, many evenings of going through these things. But then that's the point. It should be clear and good sounding, and encouraging you to just keep playing more and more and enjoying as much as you can. So I just wanted to say that again. I'm posting the video and then I'll add things to the description as far as links and interior shots of the 5.1. They're all over the internet. AudioNote has many shots of the interior and the back. Very very plain box on the outside. There's a couple connections in the back and the power switch and a direct versus single-ended. You know, pretty much straightforward. And this is connected through RCAs. I connected the same RCAs to the Sony and played back to the same system. So I didn't want to cloud it with any other things. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this. Again, look up AudioNote, look up people in your, a dealer in your area. They're all over the U.S. and in the world. And just, you might want to reach out to an email and see what they have, or even if they have a website. The person I used did not. They had a website with some stuff on it, a lot of reviews of AudioNote, but they didn't have, like, my current setup is I have these products, these prices. You got to reach out for all that. So, and don't hesitate. Again, they're not going to hound you or anything. It's kind of, a nice, I want to call it high level, but it is. It's designed for somebody who's looking into it. They kind of inquire and see what they have and can do, and it's that setup. So don't be intimidated. All right. Again, thank you very much. I'm trying to put out one of these every week. The feedback on this will guide me to the next thing. Is it going to be a musical comparison or something else? I need to start looking into and planning what to do next and carry it through and go through each piece and then like do these A/Bs and then have other equipment that could A/B against for just different sound quality or different characteristics. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.